people in the media face very unsavory incidents sometimes. For instance, a very disturbing private set of videos from my family. My then wife got leaked onto social media, and her phone got hacked, and there were some really disturbing videos that went into the public domain. And I remember my wife was then hospitalized, and she asked me a question in the hospital saying, I hope there are no videos of us. All right. And it was such a, it was such a disturbing time in my life. And when that became comedy, the way I used it in comedy was, I had just quit my acting career then because I felt like I hadn't gained any great success there. Like people were, none of my movies went so viral that I could become a superstar down south. And when my great fear was my wife asking me, I hope there's no video of us in there. And my fear at that point of time was, what if a video of us being naked got leaked online? And what if that also didn't go viral? So if it goes viral, you are shamed. And if it doesn't go viral, it's even more shameful because yaar, koi tera naked picture dekhne nahi chahta.
Welcome to my
Ravi.
show, Jagged with Just Ravi.
Happy to be here.
Okay. Karthik, if you had to tweet your profile.
Entrepreneur. And as an entrepreneur, I think I've been an author, a stand-up comedian, an actor, and today a director. So I think entrepreneur first. And most importantly, I'd like to believe I'm an artivist, which is an activist, an artist who's an activist. So
super. Okay, so now there are two aspects of you that I'm going to take. Stand-up comedy and entrepreneur. Okay. Would you say that essentially these two journeys are about finding and acting on your authentic voice?
Yeah, I think I have used the guise of the professional journey to help myself find what is true to myself.
What amazes me is once I read your book, Don't Start Up, how you were so clear and you had so much conviction for the path you will take, because you were told time and again by people you respected that don't start up, and you said, this is my path and I'm going to do it. And I'm reminded of something, Karthik, where somebody had said that, what is it that you would do if you knew for sure that you would fail, but you would still do it? Or it's immaterial, let's say it's immaterial. So all the challenges and dilemmas that you have faced and you've resolved with courage and creativity, it's there in your book. So we should, benefit from it. And all the startups, face similar dilemmas. Even solopreneurs, I would say, go through similar journeys. Yeah. And there are great learnings here. Yes. Could you share some growth hacks with people, who have started up or are thinking of starting up?
Yeah, I think one of the key things is to keep track of the pole star for an entrepreneur. The entrepreneurial pole star is not how to get something done. It is to what is it that you want to get done. I think to keep following that thing that you want to get done in the world, because entrepreneurial spirit is extremely linked to your personality. Entrepreneurs largely are a certain personality where they just want it done. They just want to get that thing done, and they would possibly keep fighting at it until almost like it's like they're adamant about that, about getting something done. So as young people who have not yet considered entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship does not emanate from a big idea. It comes from knowing what you like or knowing what you want done, right? Constantly, that's the pole star that an entrepreneur should always follow. Because at some point of time, you may get confused by profits or regulations or the market. All these are distractions in the way of doing the thing that you set out to do. Because the day you set out to do it, you had a clarity saying, I want this done.
Mm.
You did not say, I want this done because the market is favoring it. Market is like seas, it's high seas, low seas, the tides will keep changing. But to keep at that thing that you love doing. So be very connected to your own personality and connected to your own like and dislike, because that is very difficult to change. You'll realize as we get older, our likes and dislikes probably become more and more exaggerated. And you can't change it. You can't change something that you like, and you find it difficult to change something you dislike. Right? So if personalities are so ingrained, you need to be able to align your business to your personality. So self-knowledge is the most important thing. And second is, I think, to become comfortable become comfortable with time, because you'll have a lot of time on your hands as an entrepreneur. You have that will be your greatest enemy, because you'll constantly it's like you will become mischievous with your time, because you're like, time, I mean, we have so much time, kuch to karte hain, and you'll get very busy doing stupid things. Right? So always being busy is not necessarily a good state of being. Learn to become patient. Sometimes the best thing to do is to do nothing. And just because we have gotten into business, we feel like we zabardasti kuch na kuch karna hi padta hai. No, you don't have to. Sometimes you can just sit and wait. Doing nothing also will be the best decision sometimes. So to become comfortable with time, and therefore be able to treat time as money, because you'll never have enough money. That's the situation in life. You want something, you'll always have lesser money than your wants. Sometimes you always have more time. Use that time wisely and try and convert that time into money, because time can mean research, time can mean extra knowledge, learning something, time can be learning a new tool that can potentially save you in the future. Time can be random research that is just leading you towards something that has no value today. But who knows, it may build a certain interest in you that may take your journey to a new place. COVID situations brought my businesses so much time because we had less business. And then we started understanding what is online. And I can see one of my divisions has gone completely online. And yesterday, when we did the maths of it, 99% of our products have come online from a business that we essentially thought was a touch and feel business. And today, to be able to deliver an online version of it, I can only credit the team that pulled it off, but also it makes me laugh at my own imagination, which made me think that it's only a touch and feel business. So time should push you into directions that you can use positively, because you will have a lot of time as an entrepreneur. The third growth hack is, I think, will be whatever way possible, please keep yourself happy in this journey, because it's I have seen great quarters, I've seen low quarters, I've seen non-quarters, I've seen but the only years I remember are the years that I had the greatest exhilaration as a human being. Whenever I did something that I never thought could be done, or I feared doing, I remember those moments the most, because I don't think you remember bottom line numbers after 2-3 years. It's like remembering your board marks. After a point, you forget what your board marks were. But you do remember the thrill that you had when you graduated, or the thrill that you had when you had your first heartbreak in school or college. You remember those things. So as human beings, I think you remember only emotional humps in your journey, ups or downs, and enjoy those, learn to enjoy those. And that's where the entire life gets recounted. So be very aware of what brings you joy. Yeah, these are the only hacks I have.
There are many more. Okay. But guys, pick up the book then. Okay. So
there's a book full of insights.
Yeah. So Karthik, when you're talking about this, the biggest thing then that can be inculcated, because you're talking about teaching humor, then teaching the path to self-awareness becomes the most important thing, because unless you're really aware of your personality and deep likes and dislikes and what makes you tick, click, all of that, unless you actually know dissociated from your conditioning and other people, you cannot take these decisions. And I think that is where the problem becomes, because after a point, then it's a stimulus that's coming from outside that it is making people take decisions.
Absolutely. Like all of us know at the age of 14, we know what society expects of us, which means we have the right answers that society will find acceptable, right? First thing you need to know is that those are not right answers. Those are whether they are right for you or not is something that you need to answer for yourself by knowing yourself. Most often we feel fat because the society makes us feel fat. Right? We may be extremely comfortable with our body until somebody tells us that we ought not to be. So I think teaching young people self-awareness is the only thing that our education system or our societal parental systems have to be teaching. And that's the one thing that we don't teach them, because we teach them how to think. Rather than the fact that what they think is interesting or valid. We teach them how to think. And sometimes as you get older, those how to think, the children that you have taught how to think, you start telling them what to think, which means that you're actually defining their imagination, which is against nature's laws, because when you dream, there are no rules.
Which is khatam.
Your mind, I think all these societal rules become fears in later on in life. As much as you can call the bluff on your fears, really find out. If somebody has told you saying you can't do this, go find out whether you really cannot do this. And sometimes, as I wrote in the book, people go into an entrepreneurship only because somebody says don't do it. They're like, I want to find out, why can't I do this? Why can't I? Mujhe to seekhna hai. Sometimes even if you fail as an entrepreneur or your business closes up, you will end up with a learning that will stay with you for life, which is more valuable than not having learned it at all.
And discovering yourself and your own, absolutely.
It is the most fun thing to do. It's the most fun thing.
When you say fun, I was very amused. We're going to come to branding and innovation, but before that, because you said fun and you used it in the context of failure, in your book. You said, make it fun, and I really like that. And how to put success and failure in perspective. Because both of them are the biggest traps, and all Indian wisdom of all cultures says that have equanimity in its face, but still it's so difficult. Would you like to say something?
Failure is society has defined how failure and what failure is. Right? Society has told us saying above 50% is pass, below 50% is fail. That's not a definition that you should accept for yourself. Sometimes doing something that you've never done something in your life before and getting less than 50% in that is actually success, right? Because not doing something is a greater failure than failing at something that you want to do.
Mr. Mishra, Akshay, Shalini, Kavita, Mr. Venkat.
No way. I was just being polite.
I am not guilty.
I felt bad.
No, that was meant to be a joke.
With theatre, making a change in culture, in corporate culture, which is again an intangible. It's so difficult to even define, what is the culture, because so many, leaders and so many years have passed by, and how do you actually spell it out? And then causing it to change with theatre, like you said, in a fun manner where everybody's engaged and perhaps addicted to the process, because they're enjoying so much. So how do you guys do this? How does it happen?
So when you look at theatre as a business earlier, people used to think that theatre was a business where हम सब audience बन जाते हैं, कोई stage पे कुछ करता है, हम देखते हैं, right? Whereas the way we saw theatre as participative. So when an audience comes in, they should no longer remain an audience, they should become a part of the story, right? So I saw theatre, and Sunil and I saw theatre as a very interactive thing that people should want to participate and make. Like, because only when you play with clay that you'll really have fun. Whereas if you see people on stage playing with clay, it's not so much fun. It's like, acha, ye kab khatam hoga? Right? So therefore, when we want to change somebody's behavior, we help a participant participate in a process where they own their own journey, helps them see the way they think different. Because when you're playing, your intrinsic, when you're playing a game, your most intrinsic personality traits come through. Whereas when you're not playing a game, you're very civil, you're very, very courteous, you're very poised. But when you play a game, suddenly all your inner survival instincts come through, right? How do we channelize that? That is the most difficult behavior to channelize. The behavior that you are unaware of, the behavior that will come in when there's a situation. Theater helps you create that micro situation that you can go through. You can go through a simulation and your real behavior will come through. And when you ask yourself, saying, when we put you in that situation, this is the way you reacted. Why? And then if that makes that person think, saying, why did I react this way? And these are the methods that we used in Sideways training, and which is fun. The participants have fun. They feel like they've gone through something. They come and tell us learnings. We don't say this is the learning. Usually in a PowerPoint kind of training program, you'll get to learn the learnings through the slide 6 mein learnings honge, slide 2 mein problem. All the answers are right there. You have to learn them by heart. Whereas here, the participants tell us the learning, and whatever the participant comes up with is the learning of that workshop. The only change that can come is from within. If that person goes through something and they feel like, I can do it differently. If they feel they can do it differently, they will do it differently. So it is towards an internal journey. I can
imagine that the environment also will become very safe, for something like this to materialize. It's a powerful tool for personal growth. Also, you are allowing vulnerabilities and you're feeling safe. And I mean, this culture is ideal for creative work, innovations, everything, because you start accepting each other also. Because I mean, if only we allowed each other to be vulnerable to each other, we could see ourselves through others as well. Okay, this is becoming very philosophic, but but
that is true, because in the corporate world, where we operate in our professional avatars, our egos, we bring our egos to work. We don't bring our vulnerabilities and our emotional self into work. We always think that, corporate decisions are where your emotions should be kept at the doorside. No, your emotions should come. They're intrinsic to your greatest version of yourself. If you leave your emotions behind, you're not the best version of yourself. Right? You are an ego that walks into a room. And what is ego? Ego has information. Ego has knowledge. Ego has MBA degrees. Ego has मैं यहाँ से आया हुआ. Ego has work experience. मैं 12 साल का काम कर चुका हूँ. तू तो junior है मेरा that kind of thing, that will never help you bring your best version. Right? If you're able to create a situation where people tend to bring their best and most emotionally engaged selves to work will become a fun place to be. People will seek to come to work, because only when you feel relaxed and excited and engaged will you innovate, will you invent, will you create. If you're not in a state of creation, innovation, or inventing, then your organization will not move forward. And therefore, the employees that the human resources that you employ will only become worker ants. They will only do more of what you're already doing. They will not do things differently. And your organization will soon become outdated if you do not innovate, if you do not create, if you do not invent.
Absolutely. Okay. So now we move to solo theater. That was once solo theater, then now today it's a stand-up comedy, and now you are nurturing talent. Not now, I mean, since couple of years, also nurturing talent through comicstaan, Semmappa. So, what would you like to share about this? First of all,
I think one of the first things is that a society's ability to to encourage humor is the greatest indicator of how much progress is the society willing to accommodate, right? Because humor is one of the key drivers of change. Because every joke is something that changes. Like a joke is what I take you in a direction and then I change the direction and you're surprised. And when you're surprised, usually you laugh, right? Like whenever you laugh, you are falling off something, right? What is laughter? Laughter is loss of control, a momentary loss of control, right? When you're losing control, it's almost as if you feel as if you're dying. That's how you lose a breath. Your breath changes, right? When you fall, your breath changes and you feel fear. When you laugh, you're like, whoa, I didn't see that happen. Right? So that's why people sometimes fear comedy, because they'll sit like this saying, "Ha, acha, mujhe hasao." Because he's not willing to allow himself to become vulnerable. Because when you laugh, you're absolutely vulnerable. You're allowing yourself to become. You don't laugh in a certain way. You laugh like the way you ran when you were a child. You laugh haphazardly. You laugh ungracefully. So, so
in a goofy manner. Yeah.
Goofy manner. Absolutely. It's the like, for instance, I use this word a lot, which is silly.
Yeah.
Right? Humor is celebration of silliness. Silliness is the most important thing in life, because silly is what makes a child or baby laugh. You can't go tell a baby jokes. You have to become the story. You have to become goofy. You have to become stupid. You have to become 25 different things. You have to speak in languages that you think are stupid and idiotic for a baby to laugh. Right? So that is the power that comedy can harness. And therefore, every comedian, whether they're a good comedian or a bad comedian, the intention of a comic is to make people laugh. Because when people laugh, their inner selves come out and you can make them think. You can actually make them think, because otherwise they're so careful that they won't allow their opinions to be changed. They are their most straight-jacketed, rational selves. When they
Guarded
laugh,
with defenses.
so when they laugh, they become silly. They open up their heart a little, and then you can make them think something that they didn't think of. You can seed a thought. It's literally that opportunity where you can open something and put something in. You can put medicine in, you can put poison in, you can do anything.
Wow.
So laughter is a very dangerous thing. If I make you laugh about something, I can make you think about something. Right? So in that sense, I think in the last 10 years, when stand-up comics have suddenly become important in the society, like everybody has at least one favorite stand-up comic. Right? So you not only listen to their jokes, you'll start listening to their thoughts. You'll start listening to them process the way political news is perceived. Stand-up comics have suddenly become popular, and school children are saying, I want to become a stand-up comic. Mujhe bhi karna hai. Then it means an entire generation of people are out there who are driven by this young thing. It's like, I always compare it to rock and roll music in the 1930s and 40s in US. Right? Parents used to fear it. The country used to censor it. And therefore, it used to be done in underground. It used to be done in underground caverns, clubs, and it became like churches used to say that it's devil's music. The more you make it that, the more young people are excited by it.
Yeah.
Right? And that has happened with stand-up comedy. Today, the time for comedy has arrived in this country because a younger India wants to question the norms. A younger India wants to talk to power. Younger India does not want to listen to power. Right? Younger India is not living on WhatsApp forwards. Younger India wants to go make a reel and talk to power. Right? So in that sense, thank God for that. Thank God for the youngsters. I think God bless the youngsters, because up to my generation, I think we're all dense, culturally conditioned, extremely fearing, very, very obedient children of society.
Guilty.
Yeah. All of us have tick boxes left, right, and center, and we're wondering when we'll get our award spirit. Nobody's going to give us award spirit. It is just stupidity, and it is the lack of imagination. But younger people are so much more aware. A 19, 20-year-old is able to tell me why my joke was stupid or idiotic, or why what I think is actually outdated and not in touch with reality, because they are much more in touch with reality. They are much more in touch with their own authentic selves at a much earlier age than my generation ever could be. Youngsters have taken to it. Youngsters will use stand-up comedy like a potent weapon that will help them in life. They may all not become stand-up comics, but they will use humor very, very positively. That's why you see in the last 10 years, in the last 5 years, you'll see more memes, more reels, more entertainment, more content, which is funny out there. And you'll realize, I never thought these people could be funny. You'll realize housewives going out there and dancing in reels, dancing, showing themselves off and enjoying themselves. You will find everybody trying to evoke a certain entertaining response from people, which is at some level, it is learning to allow yourself to be silly, to be stupid, to be seen as somebody who can make you laugh. And it's the most attractive trait today in human beings. Oh, that person makes me laugh. I love that person. You love a person who can make you laugh because you feel that they want the best for you. They want to make you laugh. And sometimes when you get angry with a comedian, you have so many other people coming to our defense because we made them laugh.
Yeah.
And that's the greatest joy a clown can get.
Yeah. Beautiful. I like how you summed it up too. So the clown has also such a lot of power then, the clown becomes an influencer. The clown has a community following him. Like you said, their social, their outlook becomes important because they are going to educate you and they're going to show you what you're blind to otherwise. So I want to look at, what is this treasure of insights that advertising and marketing can benefit from, because they always want to dip into popular culture and make quick connections, because popular culture has a huge tough relationship strong, and they want to just borrow 30 seconds from it. That also content creation and marketing, content creation and branding, because this is again another area where it's like a marketer feels that they're losing control. Typically it's been, I decide now I'm going to communicate and I'm going to try and connect you. I've already understood you and now I'm going to persuade you. Now the content creation, it's like, people are deciding, people are going to co-create. So that aspect also. And the role of vernacular in this, because I want to get into the Southern culture also. Oh God, there is so much coming to my mind. So I'll just pause at this. Over to you, Karthik.
There's a very structured way of looking at it. You need to just go through certain rules in life. First is that local rules, right? Local is everything, right? Nobody wants to be seen as only international. Everybody wants to get as local and relevant as possible. So the most relevant news is the most powerful news. So how do you create relevance is what every brand communication wants to achieve. Second, like you rightly said, 20 years back, advertising professionals were creating fun, entertaining messages because the fun and entertaining people were working in ad agencies, and they said funny things and the world laughed, right? Today, the world has become funnier than people in the agencies, right? Right? So if you crack a joke, they'll be like, "Ye joke tha, main isse better kar sakta hu." Right? So therefore, agencies today have to create mediums where audiences can participate and create a message. An ordinary consumer buys your product, tries it out in an Instagram video and says, actually, this worked for me. Who's not an influencer? They're not trying to, they're literally saying, this worked for me. मैं आपके साथ share करना चाहता हूँ. That becomes a very, very powerful conversation that a brand has the opportunity to create. So therefore, any brand that has created a marketplace where consumers drive the brand conversation, consumers decide what is good. Like Amazon Marketplace has created that. Customer reviews everything. Customer reviews take that product and create an ecosystem there where customer reviews take that product up or down or as it may be. And therefore, the microsphere that Amazon has created is very, very valuable because it's completely customer driven. Let that honesty be, because the truth is out there. Just because Ranveer Singh said those 3 words doesn't mean the whole world thought that that's what is of the product. Ranveer Singh said this because he got paisa to say it. We all know it. 20 years back, we didn't know that. 20 years back, we thought that, acha, Amitabh Bachchan yahi baniyan pehanta ho. Today, we know that, acha, he doesn't wear baniyan. We know that. But ad mein wo baniyan pen ke aata hai. You know, he sells, we know that Amitabh Bachchan wears a toupee, but he sells Brahmi oil. You're like, kahan dalte ho aap Brahmi oil? So we know that the emperor has no clothes. We know that. You can't hide the truth today anymore. You can't, like, there's a saying in Tamil which says that you can't hide an entire pumpkin inside your rice. Right? You can't hide a pumpkin. The pumpkin is out there.
He's gone literal.
Rapid firing. Oh my God.
Okay. So, your superpower?
I think it would be patience. Just learning to let things go.
Favorite Avenger?
Avenger. Oh, I think I'm very drawn to Captain America. I don't know why. I just feel like he represents the best of us.
Okay. One thing that most people don't know about you?
That I'm actually very approachable and friendly. I don't want them to know that about me.
Oh, understand why. Favorite
quote is, what doesn't kill you will only make you strong.
Directing a movie is not about
entertaining an audience.
Admired celebrity?
Rahul Dravid.
Mom?
Best friend.
Dad?
Solid support.
Never?
Cheat.
What keeps you awake at night?
Hope.
Lovely. A book that you'd like to gift to most of your friends?
The Art of Looking Sideways. One of the most phenomenally, it's brilliant book. Art of Looking Sideways. Thank you.
I got a chance. Maggie?
Sin. Happiest sin.
Okay. Comedy?
Power.
Comicstaan?
Discovery.
Tune Mari Entry?
I can't look beyond Dil Mein Baji Ganti, so.
Okay, chalega. Okay. What is toxic for creativity?
Knowing how things should be done.
Okay. Can you say this tongue twister? So since I now know about your Hindi secret, this is Punjabi here, okay?
Whoa.
Okay, you'll get 2 chances only, huh? Praji to panda leke pan nu de de.
Praji to panda leke pando de de.
Not bad. Micah.
Awareness.
What is an underrated quality in context of creativity?
Putting in hours of work.
Now tell us a little bit about your upcoming movie, Karthik. You just directed a movie. First of all, would you like to share, if someone wants to get into directing, how do you make an unconventional path, a sudden change, and then make it successful. Uh, like from acting to direction, sometimes it can take years for a person to make that happen. How did you do it so quickly?
I think the most logical journey for anybody is to become a director, is to become an assistant director and then do 3-4 films and therefore learn to direct. But nobody actually learns to direct as an assistant director. They get contacts who they can go pitch to. वही होता है जब कोई assistant director बनता है. But I was never an assistant director, although I worked in about 20 feature films as an actor, and therefore you got to see the politics of the process very, very well. Politics of the process is more important than actually storytelling. Storytelling is a directorial sense, is something that you gain over time, right? And believe me, a lot of audiences would have seen so many movies that already have a directorial sense, right? Because there are many people who think they can direct a story out there, but what they don't realize is direction, actually becoming a director, is about pitching the right story in the right way to the right people. And then once you've gotten the project, managing people to be able to finish your film. So pitching the project is very, very critical. What is the right kind of project to pitch that people will jump onto? Whether it's producers, whether it's actors, whether it is a potential financier for the product or whatever it may be. You need to find the right formula that you can pitch so that people will grab at it. And then using that formula, you can put a storyteller can put anything into it that he wants to put in. Right? Once I've got Salman Khan onto my project, I can tell any story through Salman Khan. I just have to make sure Salman Khan fans are happy. Right? So how do I tell? I can tell a Bajrangi Bhaijan, at the same time I can tell a Wanted also. Right? How do I choose to tell you what I want to tell you using a vehicle that I have? So therefore, the directorials, to become a director, you need to have that ability to find the right pitch to get a producer or a huge star on board. Second, once you've gotten that, you need an incredible ability to manage people, to be able to not interfere with your story. Because anybody, they can just come in and they can literally kidnap and like they can take the film and go away. How do you make sure that you manage people in a way that they do what you want them to do? So that is like probably the toughest job as a director, because a director is nothing but a man manager. Right? In my first film, I worked with 5 veterans in Tamil cinema and 2 children. To make those 5 veterans, 5 veterans who have done each about 120 films each. They can come to the set and tell me what I need to do. How do I tell them what to do was itself a challenge. And the other set of actors were 2 kids. And how do you get a child, because working with children and animals is the toughest. How do you get children to do what they want? At the same time, then you have producers, you have people on the producer side who will change things, who will want to do things differently. How do you make sure that all of them see your vision? And therefore, at all points of time, I think you're fighting for your vision, you're fighting for your pitch, you're working people in a way that you can get what you want out of it. So that's the toughest part of a director. People say that directing is a tough job because this is tough to do.
It is very tough.
Directing a film is actually quite easy if you know what you want to do and how you want to do it. But to get other people, because the unique thing about making a film is it's expensive. It involves a lot of people, and it's not done in a room quietly in one corner. I can write a stand-up comedy special today in my room, perform it, I can get it tested. It's my own journey, my own output. I need nobody else for it. Whereas a film, I can't make without 15 actors, a producer, a distributor, 100 people on a unit who are there, my cinematographer, my editor, all these people, are music director. Without them contributing, you can't make a film. You just can't. And it's the toughest job. These are the things that people don't tell you. Like when they interview Great director like Anurag Kashyap, they ask him saying, how did you do this scene? They don't ask him, how did you get funding for your first film?
Yeah.
How did you get a film after Bombay Velvet? आपको पिक्चर कैसे मिली? किसने प्रोड्यूस किया? आपने क्या किया? How did you go back to the drawing board? Like, those are the things that you really need to know from these people if you want to learn direction from them.
Wow. And how many languages?
Like for instance, on a day, like let's say you look at an iconic shot of Anurag Kashyap and you say, oh, what a shot! Usne camera aise dal ke aise shot liye. What intelligence! Most intelligent thing is, on that day he would have fought with his producer and said, I need a crane for the shot. Producer is a crane nahi milegi, paisa nahi hai. So he would have thought, acha, crane nahi mil rahi hai, but I want this overhead shot. How do I get that angle for that scene without a crane? That is what a director's job is. Either you try and get the crane on that day, or you make sure that you shoot that scene on a day when you get a crane. These are the things that a young director needs to know. Not what do I need to do to take that shot? How do I convince people that I need that shot? Or that is the tough part.
Wow. And you've already done this also.
Yeah, my first film is complete. Yeah, it should come out by June.
Wow. Okay. And what is the name of the movie?
The film is called Super Senior Heroes. So it's a superhero film with super seniors.
And very, very acclaimed actors of the South. It's like four of them.
Yeah, so the entire idea was 80s mein jo bhi number one hero or heroine the or number one comedian the, वो सब अभी काम के बिना बैठे हुए हैं, सब side characters कर रहे हैं roles. कैसे, how can I write a story where all five of them come back as heroes? But if you came back as heroes, nobody wants to watch them today. So I'll make them superheroes. So it's a cute, fun, positive, feel-good film, which is about 5 80s heroes coming back as superheroes in a comedy, and it's about 60-year-olds becoming superheroes. So.
Oh, sounds so interesting. And it has something for everybody. I mean, I can imagine why I would like to watch it, why my son would like to watch it, my mother would like to watch it.
Imagine if you could watch Govinda, Mithun Chakravarti, Ravina Tandon, like 5 80s and 90s stalwarts coming back and being superheroes. It's just a cute, adorable, positive, fun, feel-good comedy.
And what you were describing earlier, Karthik, it's the vision again. It's the clarity of the vision and the conviction of it, that is going to shine through. And and how you figured this out, already you figured this out and then executed it. And, so figuring it out also, like you said, the politics of it, it's something, and then to...
First, figuring out that it involves a lot of politics. That's the tough part. Once you know that it's all about understanding people and man management, then you figure saying, okay, ye karna hai. It's really, that's such a tough job, just man management.
Lovely. Okay, so here is Karthik, KK, okay. And then his creativity, it gets, expressed in so many ways and so beautifully, like, I mean, all kinds of talents, right? Writing and directing and acting and so many things. What is the secret sauce? Is there a secret sauce?
I don't think I'm talented. That's the truth of it. I'm very, very socially concerned. So I, as an human being, I feel things that I want to share with people. In order to be able to share it effectively, I learned storytelling. I learned comedy. Today, I've learned to direct a film. I've learned to write scripts because I have an internal engine that wants to share things with people. I think that is the internal engine that is always there. Tomorrow, if I have to learn to play a guitar to tell that, to communicate that feeling, I'll learn to play a guitar. Yeah.
Wish you a lot of success for this movie. Thanks, let it be out with subtitles and dubbing. Both. We'd love to see this movie.
Absolutely. It's produced by Udley Films, so it's a Bombay-based producer, so it will have subtitles and it will be showcased significantly in all of India. So yeah.
Okay. So thank you, Karthik. You've given us such nice, effortless yet so deep conversation and insights, and got to know you also much more. And it's been amazing. Thank
Pleasure has been
you.
mutual.
Yeah.
Thanks, Abby. Thanks for engaging. This was really meaningful.